now have messages that Candace Owens revealed on her show from an alleged donor of Turning Point USA, which reveals that there was something more, of course, nefarious that was happening behind the scenes before Charlie Kirk was killed. This message to me sounds like a threat. And the question now becomes, who sent this message to Charlie Kirk? If you've been following me for quite some time, ever since Charlie Kirk's assassination, many of us, whether on the left or the right or somewhere in between, have been following this story because the narrative from the FBI did not make any sense. And I think anyone who has a brain is able to admit that. Along the way, people have tried to figure out who would have done something like this? Who has been behind this? We have pointed to possibly Israel being behind this, especially after Netanyahu came forward immediately and said Israel has nothing to do with this. It was very weird. And as time has been going by, we are seeing more information be released. And what I have noticed, it seems like to me, is that Candace has information, and it almost seems like she was allowing Turning Point USA to, I guess, have the opportunity to be truthful and come forward with, hey, we know about this, we know about that. But that has not happened. And the more that they lie and the more that they deny, the more information she released and others are releasing. And now she has released these messages that she says is from a TPUSA donor. And it sounds to me like a threat. Let's go ahead and get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, of course, Candace is saying that these messages were released before Charlie Kirk died, and it was sent to him, allegedly. Let's get into it.
I'm letting you know that I have copy and pasted this message and sent it to my team and sent it back because I want to make sure that where and who this message came from is not obvious. But this is a real message. Andrew Kovac can confirm it's real. Erica Kirk can confirm it's real, that Charlie Kirk received this. Let's read this.
So now the ball is back in their court because she is telling you that Andrew Kovac and Erica Kirk know that this message is real. Now, when I saw this, the first thing I said to myself is, it's very interesting how Andrew and Erica are pretending as if they know nothing about these things that have happened behind the scenes. It's very weird to me that Erica said, let's have this private conversation with Candace Owens. Like, again, why did it have to be in private when everything else has been so public? That was bizarre to me. And all along, knowing about this message, according to Candace, knowing about this message and saying nothing about it. All this time when people have come forward and said the donors were harassing Charlie Kirk, the donors were upset because he was starting to question Israel. He had some concerns, especially, I guess, behind the scene, which has been revealed over time. And all this time, Andrew Kovac and Erica Kirk pretended as though if you questioned that, if you thought about that, then you were crazy. Erica Kirk said during the town hall that it was ridiculous. It was insane, the things and the theories that people are coming up with. And she said, sometimes the truth just is the story that you're told. Paraphrasing there, of course, got to say that before she tries to send me a cease and desist. I doubt she probably will, though, because I'm not conservative. But you never know these days. But if it's true that she knew about this message, then Erica Kirk is exactly who I said she was before, and that is nothing more than an actress. Let's continue.
Okay. All of the people that trusted you, Jews and Christians, including me, why would you platform anti-Semites like Candace and Tucker? There are many evangelical Christian Zionists who would never give these people the opportunity to spew their hatred. I'm one of them. You say people are accusing you of being an anti-Semite because you disagree with the Israeli government. Well, what is it exactly that you disagree with? You threatened Jews and Christians with your 30 million followers. Are you?
Pause. This right here tells me this part of the message where it says, you say people are accusing you of being an anti-Semite because you disagree with the Israeli government. So this tells me this is after that interview that Charlie Kirk had with Megyn Kelly. Remember, he said that during that interview that people were accusing him of that. So this is after that. So now the timeline gets closer and closer to the day that he was killed. Interesting. Interesting.
Kidding? Be very careful, Charlie. You are in violation of the 9th commandment by bearing false witness against your brother Judah.
Be very careful, Charlie. That sounds like a threat. Like, you can disagree with something that someone said, but when you go as far as to say, be very careful, so and so, I mean, if someone has sent a message like that to me and said, be very careful, Sabrina, I would see that as a threat. So I'm one that believes in freedom of speech. I'm not here to say you can't disagree with someone, but the be very careful part and the fact that this is allegedly coming from a donor, someone who has immense wealth, someone that has immense power. From what I understand, these donors that have been donating money to Turning Point USA, somebody who said basically to Charlie Kirk, you better watch your back. That's what the be careful is. Why else does he need to be very careful? What are they going to say? Oh, well, we're not going to donate to you anymore. Okay. But that doesn't warrant a be very careful. Usually when people want to withhold their money, they'll threaten and say, I'm not going to donate to you until you make this the way that I want it. I'm not going to give you any more money until you fix this or until you apologize. Not be very careful.
The last time you read your Bible, Charlie? I'm coming to you as a believer. Genesis 12:3. Obadiah and many more prophets warned that those who curse Israel will be cursed. Your TPUSA Tampa event was a disaster. Michelle Bachmann was booed, and about 10% walked out on her when she talked about standing with Israel.
So again, you know why else I believe this is from a donor? Your TPUSA Tampa event was a disaster. People who have invested their money are more likely to care. They're more likely to care about how your event turns out because they're investing money into your organization because they get something in return. When Charlie Kirk started to question what Israel was doing, that is a threat to the donor class, and that is a problem for their investment. Because now they may not get what they want in return. It's hilarious to me. They have the audacity to bring up the Bible also at the same time while issuing a threat. Be very careful. Doesn't sound Christian-like, does it? Do you think this came from a Christian? I don't think it did.
You brag about how you convinced all these young voters to vote for Trump, but you can't convince them to stand with our Jewish brethren. This is not a joke, Charlie. I'm coming to you as a sister in faith. You have accomplished so much.
Right here. So no, it's not coming from a Christian. You brag about how you convinced all these young voters to vote for Trump, but you can't convince them to stand with our Jewish brethren. So no, not coming from a Christian. Sounds like a Zionist threat. And you know how I know? Right after October 7th, when many of us came out against what Israel was doing, and some of us have been talking about what Israel was doing way before October 7th, including myself, by the way. But after October 7th, there started to be more heat on us. There were many of us that got threats from people. I have a number of emails from random people threatening me. I still have them to this day. So when I first saw these messages that Candace was revealing, it felt very familiar. Because we all got them. I got them. Brianna Joy Gray got them. My comrades at RBN, some of them got them. A number of us got threats from Zionists because we were not supportive of what Israel was doing. We weren't supportive of them killing children. That's what we're dealing with here. When I say the U.S. should not have Israel as an ally, You got to think about who we are dealing with. A psychotic, genocidal state. And no Christian should go along with that either. That's the other thing. I really want more people to wake up. And I think some Christians are waking up. But the reality is, they throw this back in your face. You better read your Bible. We already went through all of that on the show. I explained to you that the modern day Israel is not the Israel in the Bible. Israel in the Bible is referring to a spiritual place, not a physical place. It's not supposed to be a thing. And what has happened is that Zionists took messages from the Bible and used that as their excuse to create this supremacist, genocidal state. And then they use evangelical Christians as their supporters to continue doing what they're doing. The Christian community has to walk away from this, has to walk away from Israel if we're going to see any type of change.
By the hand of the Almighty, but he is going to lift his hand from you. Don't fall for Tucker, Candace, and the rest. The Jews are under attack. God warns us in the last days.
Pause. This part right here, you have accomplished so much by the hand of the Almighty, but he is going to lift his hand from you. Threat number 2. That to me also sounds like a threat. Because what that really says is you have been protected because of us, because of the donor class, and now you are about to lose that protection. That's what the message says to me. Also, the bottom piece here where it says God, who spells God like that? Why is God spelled G-D instead of God? Who says that? I have never seen anyone write God that way. G/D warns us in the last days. Very, very strange. Very weird here.
That he will wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by while their brothers, Jacob, Israel, was held in captivity and did nothing. Don't be counted among the Edomites. It will be to your peril, as well as the unfinished work God was going to do through you.
And there it is again. Who spells God like that? Look at this very carefully, okay? GD can't say God. It's really weird. Warns us in the last days that he will wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by while their brother Jacob, Israel, was held in captivity and did nothing. Who's held in captivity right now? The Palestinian people. You know, this is the supremacy here at work. Don't be counted among the Edomites. It will be to your peril. Again, number 3, that sounds like a threat. As well as the unfinished work God was going to do through you. So now we have a donor speaking on behalf of what they believed God was going to do. So the donor has a direct line to God. The donor is hanging out with God and knows what God's going to do. They are using the Bible and twisting scriptures in the Bible to try to get Charlie Kirk to bend the knee. And if they were willing to do that with him, they can do that with anyone or try to do it with anyone. This is supremacy at its finest, where they are trying to tell all these Christians, that's why all those pastors went to Israel, all these Christians, you better get in line and you better bend the knee for Israel. Otherwise, it could be at your peril. What the absolute hell? This is where we're at now.
It will be to your peril, as well as the unfinished work God was going to do through you. Oh, but it's it's in a Bible verse. So he should be like chill with that. No, he wasn't chill with that. He did feel threatened by that. That feels like you're pretending to be a Christian, but you have specific marching orders, and you don't think there's a single reason why Charlie could reasonably critique what Israel is doing after what's been done in Gaza. They've effectively have turned Gaza into a parking lot. And this is how you come at him over Tucker's speech?
But here's the thing. I don't think it's just about Tucker Carlson's speech. It's the whole idea that you're not allowed to criticize Israel. You can criticize any other country, but if you can criticize France. You can criticize Spain. You can criticize any other country, but you cannot criticize Israel. The supremacy that has risen behind this greater Israel project, this disgusting piece of just terrible the ego around it, the type of energy that people have experienced when they've gone to Israel, the way that Christians have been treated in Israel, the type of, this is full blown supremacy. We can do whatever we want, and you better not say anything about it, because otherwise we're going to smear you as anti-Semitic and you will be through. I don't know how we came to this point in this country, but this is bad. I would say I think it all goes back to the donor class again. Like, the politicians are controlled by the donors. Turning Point USA was controlled by the donors. And it's hilarious when you look at the fact that now you have Erica Kirk on this tour called Make Heaven Crowded. And she's now going across the country to spread this message. You better get on board with Israel, because that is a part of their message. People have been co-opted. This is a psyop, and everyone has to push back on it. I don't care what your political affiliation is. This impacts all of us. Not something that we can accept. This is crazy as hell that Andrew and Erica have said nothing about this. Nothing. They said you all were crazy for even alluding to such.
Tucker's totally reasonable speech speaking about Jeffrey Epstein. Hey, he harmed children. And he is being protected because he did that on behalf of Israel. He did that for Israel. Blackmail operation for Israel. Everybody knows that, including Gen Z. And you're telling Charlie it's his job to convince Gen Z, like he's a psychological operation, that that's okay?
That's what they wanted to use him for. They wanted to use him for their benefit. You know, TPUSA was supposed to be this organization that went out there and got young people to participate in the conservative movement. Obviously, also to support Donald Trump and to move forward there. And then I guess at some point, Charlie Kirk was going to eventually run for president as well. That's what the organization was supposed to be for. But once the big money interests came in, many of these donors decided to use it to their interests. No. I know this is your organization, but you work for us now. Reminds me of the movie Captain Phillips. The donors come in and they say, I'm the captain now. And so now all of a sudden it goes from let's establish this conservative movement to get behind these politicians and implement conservative values to let's bend the knee to Israel. And the whole America first, make America great again just kind of goes out the window because these donors want you to make Israel great, make Israel first. Both parties are captured by big money interests. This is part of the reason why again, like I said, in 2024, I voted third party. I have no regrets. None. People still ask me to this day. Nope. I hope that this is opening up people's eyes into just how corrupt our political system has been. They used a political organization and basically tried to turn it into a Zionist organization. No more focusing on what you want to do in America and for Americans. You now need to focus on what we want for Israel.
That what Jeffrey Epstein did is fine because he has to stand with Judah. He has to look at what happened. He's got to flip to Genesis and understand that even when they are behaving murderously, even when they are harming children, he better figure out how to support them and how to lie to people about how he feels about what they're doing. That's really something. It's really something, again, that you are hearing this from me. It is becoming increasingly difficult to imagine how Turning Point is not naming and shaming these people. I give them an opportunity here. Why don't you come out and say who sent Charlie that message?
I wonder if Candace probably knows who sent the message. But again, putting the ball back in their court, who did send that message? And why is Andrew and Erica, of course, so quiet about it, right? I mean, literally, when you look back on it, Erica was trying to tell everybody else, you guys are crazy for looking into this. You guys are crazy for not believing what the FBI said. You guys are crazy for thinking that Charlie was changing his mind on these things. You know, in the beginning, I thought, well, maybe Charlie shared this with Candace, but not with Erica. Maybe he knew how she felt about it. Maybe he just kind of, wanted to speak to someone who was on the outside, because at that point, Candace was no longer obviously a part of Turning Point USA. Maybe that's what he decided to do. But no. She knew. And right now, she's walking around. She's doing these interviews. She's promoting Charlie Kirk's book and telling everybody else that you guys have lost it because you were looking into this further. Dan Bongino right now was on a podcast sweating his balls off, literally sweating very badly. He now has shame because he didn't come forward the way that he was supposed to and the way that he promised to with the Epstein files. You have a whole conservative movement where the leadership is telling people, turn your face away from the Epstein files, nothing to see there, folks. After under the Biden administration, they said, we need to go after these people and need to get them. Once Donald Trump said, no, nothing to see here, it's just a hoax, all of a sudden you don't care about those kids that were abused. Funny how that happens. So I see it as embarrassing. But don't feel bad, because here's the thing. This is an embarrassment for the conservative movement, but there have been embarrassments for the liberal Democrat movement as well. The Biden administration was not good. And I've been very vocal about that. I got a lot of shit from people because I wasn't willing to just say Biden is the best president of my lifetime. I wasn't going to lie. But what you see over time is that the people who decide to be players in this game, they are willing to go along with the narrative to bend the knee to enrich themselves. And that's why you're not hearing anything from Erica about this. That's why Andrew Colvett isn't saying anything. They just want to keep the money coming in, honey, knowing it's wrong. And to have the audacity right now to be on a Turning Point USA faith tour doesn't seem very Christian-like.
You won't. You won't. Of course you won't. You're lining up poison and firing them for literally no reason. We have proof of that later. Before we get to that proof and that video, I want to let you guys know that we
Okay. And then she gets into the employee situation. So I want to show you something else. Some people are wondering if this is the woman that sent the donor message. Diligent shared this. It looks like TPUSA donor who threatened Charlie Kirk likely was a very angry pro-Israel Lori Cardoza Moore. She describes the very same incident as the text to Charlie Kirk on her TikTok, mad about Tucker Carlson. She also spells God the same way in her text post. So they are alleging that it might be her. Let's see what she
Carlson,
said.
with his mocking voice and his mocking laughter, they were horrified by what they saw. I had 3 couples reach out to me who had been to the Turning Point USA conference. And this was in Tampa a couple weeks ago. They called me and said they were horrified by what they saw.
That sounds similar to what was in that message. She brings up the Tampa event. She mentions Tucker Carlson's speech. Sounds very similar to what was mentioned in that message. Let's continue on.
Horrified. They saw Tucker Carlson get up and act like another crazy person, talking, condemning Israel, praising Qatar with his mocking voice and his mocking laughter. So Tucker gets up and speaks at this conference in Tampa, TPUSA, and right after him comes Michelle Bachmann. Michelle has 5 minutes to make an argument for why we have to stand with Israel to these young people at the USA. When she starts talking in that conference about supporting Israel and why America should stand with Israel, the people in the audience start booing her. I spoke with her personally.
She brings up the people in the audience were booing her. So again, similar to what was said in that text message. Again, we are alleging here. We got to say this these days. You know, they're sending out cease and desist. So alleging, but it sounds very similar to what was in that message.
She said 10% in the room got up and walked out on her. That is shameful. Then Charlie Kirk. This is his event. He's responsible for what people are saying and doing.
Pause. 10% got up and walked out, she said. That's important. 10%, not 40, not 50, not 60, not a majority, not even half, not even a quarter, 10%. But the way that she tells it, everyone was in outrage. Apparently only 10% were in so much outrage to get up and walk out. Kind of tells on herself there a little bit.
Does he get up and condemn Tucker or correct Tucker for what he said about Israel and how dangerous Qatar is to us? No. Did Charlie get up and defend Michelle Bachmann? Did he condemn the people that got up and walked out on her, that booed her? Did he say why we stand with Israel, we support Israel? No, he didn't. That tells us everything we need to know.
Ladies and gentlemen, sounds very similar, doesn't it? Just quickly want to address the Qatar issue here. First of all, again, I don't know why people keep bringing up Qatar as if this is some enemy of the United States. The U.S. works directly with Qatar. I basically just consider Qatar just to be a U.S. military outpost. I don't know why they keep doing this. But if we look closer at some of her messages, let's go a little bit closer here. These are the things that they're pointing out. A message from her on July 2020. Check this out, guys. One who will not deceive is a trustworthy witness, but a spouter of deceptions is a false witness. Proverbs 14:5. Consider this verse when you stand as a witness to those who misled or intentionally bear false witness. It is a violation of the 9th commandment. This part highlighted here, again, sounds very similar to what was in those messages that Candace shared. Let's go on to another one. This one is from June of 2020. For violence against your brother Jacob, shame shall cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. Obadiah 1:10. Descendants of Esau, Edom, and members of the tribes of Israel will pay a huge price for how they treated their Jewish brethren. Again, very similar to what was sent in that text message. Let's go on here. July of 2025, so just last year, a deeper relationship with the God of Israel. And look at the way that God is spelled, G-D. That is Lori Cardoza Moore, ladies and gentlemen. So if I had to make a guess, I would assume it came from her. If I had to make a guess. Never saw anyone spell God that way. Since we're throwing out Bible verses, let's not forget one of the things that has been said in the Bible is that there will be others that come who say they are me. They are not me. Paraphrasing there. But if you've been to church, you know what I'm talking about. Something more nefarious is going on. This was just released as well. Kash Patel and then FBI Director Dan Bongino were focused on strategizing their messaging for X in the immediate aftermath of reports of Charlie Kirk's assassination, according to a former FBI agent named John Sullivan. Look at all the players, folks. Look at this. Right here, Senior Executive 2. Whenever there's a critical incident, one of the first things that happens is a conference call with everybody, all the executives. Most of the field offices dial in. The director rarely speaks because someone with situational awareness is leading the call. They'll say, here's what happened. Here's what we know. Here's what we need. But we get on, and it was just Kash berating the special agent in charge in Salt Lake. He's super emotional. Now check this part out. The highlighted paragraph here. And then it turns surreal. He and Bongino start talking about their Twitter strategy. And Kash is like, I'm going to tweet this. Salt Lake, you tweet that. Dan, you come in with this. Then I'll come back with this. They're literally scripting out their social media, not talking about how we're going to respond or resources or the situation. He's screaming that he wants to put stuff out, but it's not even vetted yet. It's not even accurate. That was after Charlie Kirk was killed. So if you had reservations about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, or maybe you just still weren't sure, I hope that sums it up for you. I hope that helps you make your decision. At that point in time, he was focused on what he was going to tweet. Very strange, isn't it? Very strange. And just recently, of all people, Andrew Tate, not someone I'm a fan of, but Andrew Tate just recently said that he knows who killed Charlie Kirk. Listen to this. Very damning.
Why do you think Charlie Kirk was assassinated? Do you think it was because of feminism?
Let's talk as professionals here. Sorry for the pause. I'm just scanning what's going to keep me alive. So I know who killed him. And the only person who is overtly giving theories as to who killed him publicly is Candace. The reason Candace is breathing is because she is a woman and because she is black. And the people in charge have thought, they've concluded, you know what? Let a black woman scream. Most people will, even if they listen to her, it's a black chick and we're just going to let her scream into the air and we'll just put it down to black female hysterical action. So it's
and tell everybody that she's crazy. Yeah, that's typical. They'll say that she's being overly emotional, that she's crazy, that she's low IQ, uneducated, grasping at straws, those types of things. And she can have all the information and evidence in the world, and they'll just put all these tweets out by they. I mean, there's a whole machine behind this process. If you're on X, you've probably seen this as well. They'll put out all these tweets to just say she's crazy, she's unhinged. And they'll even get other podcasters to chime in with this. They'll get other podcasters, make a video. You better go after Candace. You better do this. I know because I've seen it done to other people. I've seen it done to people on the left. There's a whole machine behind it. People have DM groups and they all send out similar messages at the same time. And they do what we used to call a tweet storm. So Candace is getting closer and closer. And I think, and other people who are looking into this as well are getting closer and closer. And I believe that's why you saw Erica send out those cease and desist letters, because people are starting to see that organization for what it really is. So there you go.
down to that.
You think that's it?
Yeah. We'll get some bots on Twitter and we'll get everyone to call her crazy and we'll pretend she's hysterical and we'll push all of this narrative that she's nuts with some paid influencers. And we're going to get everyone to call her crazy, even if she's right on the fucking money, even if she gets it perfectly right. Even in one of her episodes, if she describes it perfect, we're just going to convince everyone she's nuts because she's a black chick and we can convince people that she's just hysterical. Like the Walmart ran out of fucking cocoa butter and she's mad. So let's just do that. If you're a man in a sharp suit like yours, or if I put a suit on and I sit there and I break it down in a very logical, there still is that degree of misogyny in the world where a man is taken a little bit more seriously with some things. And then if you get it directly on the money with a different tone and they can't really call you crazy, if you don't give them the second life, if you don't give them an easy layup, well, then you pay the price.
I think he has a point here. And again, not a fan of Andrew Tate, but I have seen this also happen in the political left YouTube space as well. Last year, before the presidential election, I got tremendous hate and energy from people, and from some people that I never thought I would see do this, because I would not vote for Kamala Harris. And keep in mind, at that point in time, this show did not have over 300,000 subscribers then. I was a drop in the bucket when you compared me to the larger channels. I was a drop in the bucket. And everybody, Roland Martin came after me, all these shills for Kamala, they all came after me. The moment the election was over, didn't hear from any of these people. So it's a machine. And he said the thing about the women, the female thing. I also noticed they seem to have come after women more than men. Me and Bree got attacked a lot. But for the guys, they didn't get the same type of heat that we got. They got heat, but not the same as much as we got. So if they can just convince everybody that she's crazy, don't listen to her, and you have enough accounts out there on X sharing that message, then their hope is that people will not listen to her and will not watch what she's saying, so they won't get this information. Problem is, she's not the only one talking about it. The other problem is, I don't think it's working. Because I don't think the average person does not trust the FBI narrative around the death of Charlie Kirk. They just don't, whether people like Charlie Kirk or not. So they're trying to do any and everything. And it's crazy. It's sad. And I say this, like I said before, I was not a fan of Charlie Kirk. I'm not a conservative, not a Republican. I'm a registered, no party affiliation. But I will say this. What you see happening right now to Charlie Kirk, they can do to anyone else. Anyone. So you don't have to like Charlie Kirk, but next time it could be someone that you do like. And I'll tell you a little, little behind the scenes conversation here. After Charlie Kirk was killed, some of us in the YouTube podcast space had discussions behind the scenes, and people are seriously scared. People are seriously afraid that it could be them next time, especially those that have the large platforms, that it could be them. People are worried. And I would say that that's what the powers that be want. I would say they want you to be afraid. They want you to worry. And the more that manifests, the more you're going to start to see people start to side with the establishment if they haven't already. Some of that has already taken place. So be prepared for that on both sides of the political aisle. And I think that's why you're starting to see Nick Fuentes go back and cave on certain things. I think that's why you're seeing Tim Pool cave on certain things. I think that's why, it's all like clockwork. And another thing that I noticed, it seemed as though the timing of it all, a lot of the people, most of them who came after Candace when she was going through this information were the male podcasters. To Andrew Tate's point there, people tend to be more likely to feel as though they know what they're talking about. But this time it's not working. It just really isn't. And I don't know, you guys. This is very, very damning. If you know any more information about Lori, please send it my way, because I just find the rhetoric from her tweets and from that video from TikTok to be a little too similar to the message that was sent to Charlie Kirk. Hey guys, this was a savvy clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.